We in India have this tremendous advantage of the knowledge of Vedanta, knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. But there aren't many takers for it, and even those who study the Gita or listen to it have a lackadaisical approach towards it because we don't really understand the power that the Gita bestows on us. The benefits of this knowledge we don't understand. It's the Western countries, the Americans, who are now beginning to realize that there is something about the Gita. Like last year in the US, there was one very prominent businessman, industrialist, corporate leader, who was speaking of how corporate America is looking for inspiration, is looking for something beyond the mundane, the monotonous, the boring. And they're turning towards ancient sources of knowledge, one of which is what he said, the Bhagavad Gita. And why is it that they're looking at the Bhagavad Gita? He says, you take a look at Indians in the United States, Indians anywhere in the world, they seem to have a vibrancy, they seem to have energy, they seem to be motivated, inspired to do something. And he keeps asking them, where do you get it from? Initially, they are a bit hesitant, but he says, when you dig a little deeper, sooner or later they say they get their inspiration from the Gita. So he's saying, now corporate America is looking towards the Gita. And his next question was, is corporate India also taking inspiration from the Gita? I said, no, because corporate India is looking at corporate America for inspiration. Why is it? It's not that we're not intelligent. It's because there are certain misconceptions, misunderstandings, wrong notions that have seeped into our system, not just now, for generations. First of all, yes, it is true that Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita, speaks of the transcendental and it takes us to the state of perfection, the state of realization. Yes, that's true. But let's face it, how many of us are interested in that? We are interested in how to get over the next challenge that's before us. And nowadays, very often, the next challenge is how to get from one end of the city to another without getting stuck in traffic. So it's the here and now that bothers us. But the Bhagavad Gita helps not just the transcendental, but also it gives you the world on a platter. The most important thing that we need to understand is that when we are born in the world, we live in the world, we as human beings, as apart from any other species in the world, are designed to gain mastery over the world. And yet you take a look at human beings, anywhere in the world you find they're tormented, they're victimized, they're traumatized by the world and the changes that the world offers. So the first thing that we need to understand is that the Bhagavad Gita enables us to gain mastery over the world. And it's only when you gain mastery that you enjoy the world. How can you enjoy something as a slave? So that's the first thing. The next is, or let's come to the misconceptions. We believe fundamentally that the Bhagavad Gita is against acquisition of wealth. That Vedanta takes away your wealth from you. It's not true. In the past, there have been, in fact, the concept of Rajarishi is inherent in Vedanta. Where you're a king, you command the wealth of the world. Then what's the difference? The difference is that you are not obsessed with the wealth. You possess the wealth. The wealth doesn't possess you. So that's a huge difference. The Bhajagovindam speaks of the corrupting influence of wealth. Artham, anartham. Wealth is highly corrupting, highly corrosive, if you don't know how to handle it. The same wealth is a blessing if you know how to deal with it, if you know how to put it in its place properly. Today, there is nobody in the world who has the right understanding of wealth, the right relationship with wealth, the right person who puts wealth in its proper place. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. Always think of this truth. Nasti tatha sukhaleshaha satyam. There is no happiness inherent in wealth. But yes, you can have it, you can acquire it, you can possess it, you can enjoy it, you can do what you like with it. Don't allow it to possess you. Next thing that the Gita does is that it puts you in the right frame of mind, a healthy body, a healthy mind in a healthy body. As Swami Ramatirtha said, wherever there is a dis-ease of the mind, when the mind is not at ease, when the mind is not content, when the mind is in a state of agitation and disturbance, it manifests as disease of the body. Nowadays, more and more, we're coming up with diseases that doctors claim are incurable. What does incurable mean? Incurable is a disease that cannot be cured by external methods. This doesn't mean it's incurable. It can be cured once you get your mind in its proper place. Disease can be healed if you're willing to change the way you think, the way you behave, and the way you act. So, it removes diseases by removing the dis-ease of the mind. Another very important misconception we have is that the Gita takes away our enjoyment of the world. Why will anyone take away our enjoyment? It's not as if Krishna is waiting there to enjoy what we are to give up. But just take a look at this. Our concept of enjoyment is have more, eat more, drink more, get into a frenzy of enjoyment, and at the end of the day, we really don't enjoy. Yesterday,